The night she entered the ballroom, Ava had only wanted to blend into the shadows. She never imagined a vampire king would cross the glittering floor, claim her wrist, and whisper a deal that could rewrite the rhythm of her heart forever. Welcome back, my beautiful family and friends. If you're hooked in and you're ready to enjoy this story, click subscribe and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Because tomorrow, I will be giving you another story just as interesting as this one, and you don't want to miss it. Now, let us begin. Ava Harris had always believed there were two types of rooms in the world, those that welcomed her and those that swallowed her whole. The opulent Plaza Ballroom was the latter, a universe made of gold, diamonds, and people who walked like they owned gravity. She stood at the edge of it, clutching her worn navy handbag like a lifeline. The chandeliers sparkled with a kind of arrogant brilliance, casting rainbows across the gowns swirling beneath them. Every woman looked like she'd stepped out of a luxury magazine. Every man like he'd been sculpted from old-world money. Ava felt like an ink blot on a wedding cake. She had come because the bride, her childhood best friend, Lauren, begged her to. "You have to be there for me, Ava. You're the only family I have left from home." Ava would have crossed continents for Lauren, so she crossed a ballroom instead. She stood beside a towering wall of orchids, pretending she belonged, pretending she wasn't a stranger in a world that glittered too sharply. Then the hush came. It rolled across the room like a tide, pulling back, every head subtly turning in one direction. Conversations faltered, glasses lowered. Ava followed the shift like everyone else, though she didn't understand why people seemed to hold their breath. Then she saw him. He moved through the crowd with a grace that made everything else look clumsy. A tall, pale man with long black hair cascading past his shoulders. His tailored black suit seemed to drink the light around him, and his crimson eyes, subtle but unmistakably unnatural, glowed faintly beneath the chandeliers. A ripple of recognition passed through the guests. Some stiffened, others looked down. A few women stared with bold fascination. That must be him, Ava realized. The man people whispered about without lowering their voices enough. Dr. Vampire. That was the name he used, the name everyone accepted, the name printed in glossy magazines and whispered about in government corridors. A man known openly as a vampire, because hiding wasn't necessary when the world was already afraid to ask questions. Ava had heard stories, that he was a leader among his kind, that he was dangerous, powerful, untouchable, that he could end a life as easily as he could sign a business deal, that he had once been married to a human woman who didn't survive the marriage. A chill tiptoed down her spine. She tore her gaze away, telling herself he was none of her concern. But the air had changed, thicker, colder, like a winter breath had slipped into the room. Across the ballroom, Vampire Blackwood stood near the marble pillar, cornered by a woman with perfect posture and pearls that looked older than the building. His mother, if the tabloids were right. Her smile was social, but her eyes were razor-sharp. "Vampire," she murmured, gesturing toward a girl in emerald silk. "That one. Old money, pure lineage. Marry her." A muscle twitched in his jaw. Ava tried to look away, but her eyes snapped back to him against her will. Something in him commanded attention, not with force, but with presence. A darkness wrapped in elegance. Then his gaze lifted and collided with hers. Ava's breath stilled, not because he was beautiful, though he was in a cold, ethereal way, but because he looked at her as if he'd found the one thing in the room that didn't bore him, as if she were real. His mother followed his gaze and frowned. Vampire ignored her entirely. He crossed the ballroom, not walked, commanded the space. People parted instinctively, as if their bodies knew better than to obstruct him. Even the music dimmed beneath the weight of his approach. Ava stiffened. He's not coming to me. He can't be coming to me. But then he stopped, right in front of her. He wasn't close enough to touch her, but close enough for her to feel the cold aura radiating from him like frost on glass. Close enough to see the faint shimmer of his fangs when his lips parted slightly. "Ava Harris," he said softly. She blinked. "You know my name?" "I know everything worth knowing in a room," he said. His voice was a velvet blade, soft but dangerous in every syllable. And you're the only one here who is not wearing a mask. Her fingers tightened on her handbag. She didn't know whether to be flattered, insulted, or terrified. Come with me, he said, not waiting for an answer. Her knees almost buckled. What? His eyes glimmered. Because you're the only person here I wish to speak to tonight. That answer wasn't comforting. Still, some part of her, perhaps the part that resented being treated like invisible trash, lifted her chin. I haven't agreed to go anywhere with you. His lips curved slightly. Not yet. Before she could form a reply, he took a step closer. Heat rushed to her cheeks at the abrupt proximity, though his skin felt cold even from a distance. He leaned in. His voice slid against her ear. Pretend to be my wife. Her heart stopped. What? She whispered, barely audible. Pretend to be my wife, he repeated, each word deliberate. For tonight, and perhaps longer. She stared at him, speechless. He wasn't smiling. He wasn't joking. His crimson eyes were unblinking, assessing her like she was a puzzle he'd decided to solve. And why on earth, she managed, would I do that? His gaze flicked briefly toward his mother across the room, still watching with hawk-like intensity. Because I require an escape, he murmured. And you look like someone who needs one too. Her pulse hammered. That's not a reason. No, he agreed softly. But this is. He leaned even closer. His breath, icy, ancient, brushed her neck. Pretend to be my wife, he murmured, but you must let me drink from you every night, until your heartbeat matches mine. Her blood iced over. Her heartbeat matches his? That meant. No, her voice cracked. No, I can't. You can, he said calmly. And you will. She tried to step back. He didn't touch her, but his presence alone held her in place like invisible chains woven from fear and fascination. Why would you ask something like that? She whispered, trembling. His eyes darkened, the crimson deepening to something molten and hungry. Because I can hear your heartbeat from across the room. He tilted his head slightly, inhaling. Sweet, pure, unclaimed, a slow exhale. And because for the first time in a century, I want something I cannot simply take. Fear pricked her skin. What happens if my heartbeat matches yours? She whispered. He didn't answer immediately. His silence said more than any word. Not alive, he said at last. Not dead. Something between. Her legs nearly gave out. Why me? She breathed. For reasons neither of us have time to discuss, he answered. But I assure you, Ava Harris, you will say yes. And if I don't? The ballroom lights flickered. His expression didn't change, but the air thickened colder, heavier. The chandeliers dimmed faintly, as if the very electricity feared disappointing him. If you refuse, he said quietly, my mother will force a marriage that will start a war. His eyes narrowed. And you will be the only human in this room who survives to witness it. Her stomach dropped. He stepped back, giving her 1 inch of breathing room. You don't have to decide now, he said softly, but you will decide soon. She swallowed hard. Why? He held her gaze. Because fate is less patient than I am. A shiver rattled down her bones. Before she could speak again, someone called his name. He turned his head slightly, irritation sweeping through his expression, and she glimpsed the reality of him. Ancient, regal, lethal. He looked back at her one last time. You may run, he said gently. It will not matter. Then he walked away, leaving her standing in a golden ballroom surrounded by strangers, with her pulse roaring in her ears and a vampire's whisper coating her skin like frost. The deal of darkness. Ava didn't breathe. She couldn't. The vampire king's words coiled around her like chains, sealing the air in her lungs. Pretend to be my wife, and let me drink from you every night, until your heartbeat matches mine. Her pulse slammed painfully in her ears. She stared up at him, unable to move, unable to make sense of any of it. The ballroom glittered behind him, gold, champagne, diamonds, but the world had turned absolutely silent. He waited, his crimson eyes glowing faintly, as if he could see every beat of fear racing inside her. Ava swallowed hard. No, she whispered. She didn't mean to say it out loud. Didn't mean for it to break from her lips like a tremble of rebellion. But the word escaped anyway. The vampire king's expression didn't change. He didn't look angry. He didn't even look surprised. He looked intrigued. A dangerous curl touched the corner of his pale mouth. "Little one," he murmured, "I wasn't asking." Ava's legs buckled. Her heartbeat roared. Her throat dried. Her palms went ice cold. She stepped back. "Stay away from me." She turned, but she didn't even take 2 steps. He appeared in front of her. Not walked, not moved. Appeared. One moment he was behind her, and the next he stood blocking her escape, tall, elegant, and terrifyingly still. Ava gasped and stumbled backward, crashing into a table of crystal flutes. Glass chimed sharply, a few pieces toppling over, but no one in the ballroom paid attention. No one dared intervene. Every guest pretended not to look. They knew exactly who he was, what he was, and what happened to anyone who interrupted the king vampire when he chose a target. Ava's voice shook. "What do you want from me?" His eyes lowered, slowly, meaningfully, like a predator savoring the flavor of prey. "Everything," he whispered, and then he gently, shockingly gently, took her hand. I shot up her arm. "Come." Ava tried to pull away, but his grip, though soft, was unbreakable. Human strength meant nothing against him. He leaned down, his presence overwhelming, his breath cold on her cheek. "Do not make this difficult," he said quietly. "It will frighten you more." "I'm already scared," she snapped, a burst of panic giving her momentary fire. For the first time, the king vampire's expression faltered, not in anger, in curiosity. His head tilted, black hair spilling forward like a dark curtain. "You fear me," he said softly, "but you still speak to me as if I'm a man." His smile deepened. "That is rare." Ava shook her head, trembling. "I don't care what you are. You can't just choose me. You can't tell me to pretend to be your wife and bite me." He leaned in closer, his voice low enough that only she could hear. "I only bite what's mine." A chill shot through her. "I'm not yours," she whispered. He didn't blink. Not yet. Her stomach dropped. "I won't do it," she breathed. For one long second, Vampire said nothing. Then he sighed, a cold, ancient sound, and lifted his chin toward the exit. "We cannot have this conversation here." Before she could protest, he placed a hand on the small of her back and guided her, effortlessly, through the ballroom. The crowd parted in silence, guests stepping aside as if a god was passing through. No one looked at them directly. No one dared. Ava kept her eyes down, heart slamming, trying to hide how violently she shook. "Where are we going?" she whispered. "To speak privately." "I don't want to." He cut her a look so sharp it sliced her words in half. "You do not want the guests to hear you beg." Her breath hitched. "Beg? For what?" "For your life," he said simply. Ava's knees nearly gave out. He walked her into a stunning marble hallway lit by golden sconces. Far quieter, far emptier than the ballroom. The sound of music faded behind them, replaced by the echo of their footsteps. Once they reached a secluded alcove, he released her. Ava stumbled away from him immediately, rubbing her wrist even though his touch hadn't hurt her. Vampire watched her like a storm watching a trembling leaf. "Why me?" she whispered, voice cracking. "Why out of everyone in that room?" He slowly approached her, not flashing, not teleporting, but walking deliberately, steps as silent as shadows. "You interest me," he said. "That's not an answer." His eyes glimmered. "No," he murmured, "it is not." She backed into the wall. He rested a hand beside her head, caging her in. "Ava Harris," he said softly, "I need a wife." "Then pick someone else." "No." "Why not?" His breath brushed her cheek, cold but intoxicating. "Because the others would try to own me, use me, control me." His eyes dropped to her lips. "You, little one, would survive me." Her heart somersaulted. Survive? What does that even mean? He held her gaze, unblinking. "It means," he whispered, "your soul does not flinch, and your blood does not lie." Ava's skin prickled. "My blood." He nodded once. "I could taste your heartbeat from across the room. Unafraid of wealth, unimpressed by power, unpolluted by greed. Humans like you are rare, precious." His voice dropped, velvet and lethal. "And I require your kind." Ava shook her head rapidly. "For what? Why pretend to be your wife? Why drink from me?" At that, his eyes darkened, glowing brighter, like embers fanned by wind. Because my council demands I take a bride before the crescent convergence. The what? A lunar alignment that strengthens my power and strengthens their attempt to control me. Ava blinked, stunned. Control you? You're the king. His jaw tightened. A king surrounded by elders who wish to leash him. They want me tied to one of their daughters, a vampire born from noble blood. Like the woman your mother pointed out? His lips curled slightly. Yes, she is the council's favorite. So what does that have to do with me? You are human, untouched by their world. If I marry you, the council loses their leverage. Ava exhaled slowly, trying to understand. So you want me to pretend to be your wife, to block a political marriage? He nodded, and the drinking every night, his gaze flickered to her throat. My powers weaken without a bond, he said softly. A vampire of my rank must feed from someone consistently, or my enemies will sense my vulnerability. Feed from someone human? His voice deepened, almost apologetic. Yes. Ava's knees shook again. And if my heartbeat matches yours? His silence told her everything. It means I'm turning, she whispered, into one of you. He stepped closer, so close she felt the cold radiating off him. No, he said quietly. Not fully. You would become something in between. Something only a king can create. Her chest tightened painfully. A half-vampire? His eyes flashed. A bound one. Ava stared at him, horrified. That sounds like being owned. It is, he said simply. Her breath shattered. No, she whispered. Absolutely not. She shoved past him, but he caught her gently by the arm. Ava. No. She jerked away. I'm not some bargain. I'm not some blood bag. I'm not letting you turn me into whatever that is. The Vampire King's expression hardened. I am offering protection. From what? He stilled. Unbelievably still. Ava realized the truth when she saw in his eyes. From your council? She whispered. No, little one. His voice was a blade dipped in ice. From the hunters circling you right now. Her blood ran cold. What hunters? He turned his head slightly, listening to something she couldn't hear. They followed your scent from the slums. 6 of them, armed, closing in. Ava's breath caught. Why would hunters follow me? I'm human. His gaze locked onto hers. They are not after you, he murmured. They are using you. His pupils narrowed, glowing red. To get to me. Ava's heart dropped into her stomach. What does that mean? He stepped closer, voice low. It means if you walk out of this hallway alone, you won't survive 10 minutes. Her body froze cold. She didn't know if he was lying. She didn't know if he was manipulating her. But she saw something in his eyes, something ancient and deadly serious. Fear. Not for himself. For her. Choose. Ava Harris, he whispered. Stand with me, or be hunted because of me. Ava felt her breath tremble out her chest. Her world shattered at her feet, and all she could do was stare at the Vampire King. This pale, terrifying creature with long black hair and crimson eyes, who had just turned her entire life into a nightmare. He lifted her chin gently, forcing her to look at him. This is your last moment of freedom, he said softly. After this, your life belongs to my world. Ava felt tears burn her lashes. What do I do? She whispered. Vampire leaned in, lips brushing her ear. Little one. His voice wrapped around her like silk chains. You let me protect you. And then, a scream echoed from the ballroom. One of the hunters had made their move. Ava gasped, and the Vampire King smiled. Your answer must come now. If you were Ava, would you choose protection from the Vampire King? Or try to run? Comment below. Your answer might reveal something about you. Marked by blood. The scream from the ballroom sliced through the marble hallway like a blade. Ava jerked toward the sound, heart hammering against her ribs. Guests shrieked. Glass shattered. Music collapsed into chaos. The Vampire King didn't flinch. If anything, he looked bored. He turned his head slightly, listening, really listening, the way a predator tracks heartbeats in the dark. They've come, he murmured. Ava stumbled backward. Ooh, who is it? What do they want? He stepped forward instead of answering, his long black hair falling like midnight silk over his shoulders. His crimson eyes sharpened. A hunter on the right, he said quietly. 2 at the entrance. 1 on the balcony. And two behind you. Ava froze. Behind her? She spun around, but the hallway was empty. This wasn't happening. It couldn't be happening. I don't see anyone. Because you are human, he said calmly. They are cloaked. Her breath hitched. A cold feeling crept up her spine. Hunters cloak themselves? She whispered. To stop prey, he murmured. Like wolves hiding in snow. He took one slow step toward her. And tonight, little one, you are the snow. Ava felt something inside her break. Fear, panic, confusion. Everything tangled until she could barely think straight. I didn't ask for this, she whispered. I don't even know you. He stopped only inches from her, his presence filling the hallway like a storm contained by skin. You know enough, he said softly. I know you're dangerous. A faint smile touched his lips. I am, and I know you want to use me. Also true, and I know, she said louder, shaking, that whatever you want me to become, whatever you want to turn me into, I don't want it. His smile vanished. A cold silence swallowed the air between them. Then, bang, a door at the end of the hallway flew open as a masked man stumbled backward, thrown by an invisible force. He hit the wall with a sickening thud and slid down, unconscious. Ava screamed. The Vampire King sighed in annoyance. I told him to stay away, he muttered. Another hunter appeared. No mask this time, hood pulled low, crossbow loaded with something that glowed like molten silver. Before he could fire, Vampire flicked his fingers. The bolt froze midair. It hung between them, vibrating inches from Ava's face. She stared at it in horror. He lowered his hand, and the bolt shattered into dust. Ava's knees went weak. Itch, how did you do that? He didn't answer. Because the hunter lunged. The Vampire King moved faster. A blur of black hair. A whisper of cold air. A thud echoing through the hall. And the hunter fell unconscious. Not dead. Not bleeding. Just defeated. You didn't kill him, Ava breathed. He turned toward her. You sounded relieved. What? I thought that's what vampires do, she whispered. Kill. Yes. He walked toward her slowly. I kill when I must, he murmured. But tonight, he reached out, brushing a stray curl from her forehead. Tonight, I am showing restraint for you. Ava's breath trembled. What do you want from me? She whispered again. His eyes softened, dangerously so. Your consent. To what? Becoming your wife? Being bitten every night? Turning into something not human? No. His voice dropped, low and intimate. To surviving. Ava froze. He stepped closer and closer until she could feel his breath on her neck. Listen to me, he whispered. The hunters will not stop. They have seen your face. They have scented your blood. They know you are connected to me now. I'm not connected to you. You are, he said calmly. The moment you locked eyes with me in the ballroom, you were marked. Ava shook her head violently. That's not fair. I didn't do anything. No, he said softly, and that is why I'm giving you a choice. He lifted her hand gently, placing it against his chest. His skin was cold. His heart did not beat. Ava tried to pull away, but his fingers curled lightly around hers. One, he murmured. You walk away. I'll let you go. The hunters find you within the hour. They use you as bait. Torture you. Force me to come. And you die. Her pulse spiked. He continued. Two, I'll wipe your memory of tonight. Everything. You forget me forever. You live your life. But the hunters still find you because the scent does not vanish. Tears pooled in her eyes. And three, she whispered. His voice softened like velvet wrapping a blade. You let me protect you as my wife. Ava swallowed hard. And the drinking every night, his eyes flickered to her throat again. Yes. Will it hurt? Yes. She shivered. Will it change me? His lips parted slightly. Yes. Ava felt dizzy. I don't want to become a monster, she whispered. At that, the Vampire King reached out and cupped her face in both hands. His cold thumbs brushed her cheekbones softly. You will never be a monster, he said quietly. You will be powerful. You will be feared. You will live centuries. You will never bow to anyone. And you will not die by human cruelty. Her eyes burned. I don't want any of this, she whispered. He leaned forward until their foreheads nearly touched. No one ever wants immortality, he murmured. They survive it. Ava's voice cracked. You're not giving me much of choice. I'm giving you a way to live, he corrected gently. Silence hung between them. Then, Ava felt it. A presence behind her. Cold. Wrong. Hissing. She turned slowly. A hunter had uncloaked. He was inches away. Pale. Smiling. Eyes like dead glass. He lifted a curved dagger coated in glowing ash. For the king's blood, the hunter hissed. Ava gasped, but Vampire moved before she could scream. He wrapped an arm around her waist, pulling her into him, and spun them away as the dagger slashed the air where she had been standing. Ava's body collided with his chest. She felt his coldness, his strength, his protection. He held her behind him now, shielding her with his entire body. The hunter smirked. Found your weakness, Vampire. The king's voice dropped to a chilling whisper. No. His red eyes blazed brighter than fire. She is my wrath. The hunter lunged. This time, Vampire did not hold back. In one fluid, terrifying motion, he grabbed the hunter by the throat, lifted him off the ground, and slammed him into the wall so hard the marble cracked. The hunter choked, gasping for air. The Vampire King leaned in, his voice a silky whisper. You touched what is mine. Ava felt the air grow colder, darker, pulsing with ancient fury. Then, he dropped the hunter, letting him collapse to the floor, unconscious but alive. The hallway fell still. Ava pressed a shaking hand to her mouth. Vampire turned back to her. His eyes were still glowing, but softer now. Ava, he said gently, look at me. She did, and what she saw nearly broke her. A king, a monster, a protector, all in one. You choose, he whispered. Ava's breathing trembled. Her mind screamed to run. Her heart whispered stay, not because she wanted him, but because everything in her life, every instinct, told her one thing. This man, this monster, this Vampire King, was the only thing standing between her and a violent death. What happens if I say yes? She whispered finally. His eyes darkened, glowing in the soft hallway light. Then I take you home, he murmured, and I keep you alive. Ava's lips trembled. And if I say no? He stepped closer. So be it, he whispered, but I will not chase you. She blinked. You won't. No. His voice cracked like thunder buried in silk. The hunter's will. Ava's chest tightened painfully. Her eyes filled with tears. I don't know what to do. He leaned in, slowly, carefully, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. He brushed her cheek with the back of his cold fingers. Choose the path that keeps you breathing, he said softly, and I will honor it. Ava swallowed hard. Her decision arrived on a broken whisper. I choose life. The Vampire King closed his eyes for a brief, fragile moment. Relief washed over his face. When he opened them again, his crimson gaze burned with possessive fire. Then you choose me. He lifted her hand, brought it to his lips, and kissed it. A cold, claiming kiss that sealed a fate she could never escape. Ava gasped, because she felt something. A pull, a bond, a thread of ice weaving into her heartbeat. He felt it, too. It begins now, he whispered. Ava's world tilted, her vision blurred, and before the darkness swallowed her whole, she heard his voice one last time. Do not fear, little one. I will carry you home. Ava couldn't remember the last time she felt warm. Not physically. No. The Vampire King kept the penthouse blazing with soft, golden heat, as if desperate to shield her human body from the cold that lived in his. But emotionally, the warmth she felt in his presence was something far more dangerous. It frightened her more than his fangs ever could. Tonight, New York hummed below them, a glowing tapestry of city lights stretching into the horizon. From the balcony of his penthouse, the highest in Manhattan, Ava could see the clouds drifting beneath them, as if the world itself had been built at their feet. And she hated that part of her liked it. Vorian stood behind her, silent, still, intense. His reflection hovered like a shadow in the glass door. Tall, pale, sculpted like a marble god, long black hair falling over his shoulders. His red eyes burned softly in the dim light. A nightmare, a king, a curse, a savior. He was all of it at once. You're quiet tonight, he murmured. Ava swallowed. I'm thinking. He stepped out onto the balcony with her. About running away? No, she whispered, surprising herself. About surviving. Vorian's gaze hardened, not with anger, but with something painfully close to regret. You think I want to kill you? You said my heartbeat will match yours, she replied, voice shaking. That doesn't sound like living. He came closer, too close. Close enough that his cold breath touched her neck. Matching my heartbeat does not kill you, he murmured. It saves you. From what? She demanded. You? Your deal? Your world? No, he said, jaw tightening. From what is coming? Ava turned sharply. Stop speaking in riddles. The vampire king closed his eyes as if bracing for war. Then he finally said it. A rebellion. Her blood ran cold. In Manhattan, she whispered. In our world, he corrected. The vampire world. And you, Ava Harris, have just found yourself in the center of it. The words echoed through her like thunder. He moved to the balcony's edge and stared over the city, the wind ruffling his hair. For years, the council has wanted an heir, he said. A successor to the throne. A marriage that binds houses together. A queen whose blood can strengthen mine. Ava's stomach dropped. And my mother, he continued darkly, believes she can force me to marry into one of the pure blood families. And you don't want that? Ava whispered. He turned toward her. No, he said, because a pure blood queen means chains. Controlling my life. My power. My future. I refuse to be owned. And me? Ava asked. What am I to you? Silence weighted every inch of the balcony. Vorian's eyes softened, losing their predatory glow. You are real, he said finally. Human. Untamed. Unprepared. Untouched by the council's corruption. But I'm nobody, she protested. I'm a broke girl from Brooklyn who came to a wedding in a cheap dress. His voice turned low and reverent. And yet the entire ballroom disappeared when you walked in. Her heart stumbled. Then, too sudden to brace for, Vorian gently touched her chin, lifting her face toward him. His fingers were cold, but his eyes blazed like embers. Ava Harris, he whispered. I need a wife, not a weapon. Her pulse jumped. And I need someone the council will never suspect, he continued. Someone so unexpected they won't see the trap until it closes. She blinked. Trap. I will not be forced to marry royalty, he said. You are my rebellion. Ava stepped back, breath trembling. You dragged me into a war I didn't ask for. Yes, he admitted, and I would do it again. Why, she cried. And then he broke. Not physically, not violently, emotionally. Something inside him cracked open, raw and unguarded. Because the moment I smelled your fear in that ballroom, he whispered, I knew I could trust you more than every creature with power and money in that room. Ava's eyes burned. Vorian, I have lived centuries without wanting, he continued. Without feeling. Without longing. I gave up on the idea of choosing someone for myself. And then you walked in small, worried, brave, and unclaimed. Her knees weakened. He stepped closer. You saw me, he murmured. Not the king. Not the monster. Me. Ava opened her mouth, then froze. He cupped her cheek with startling tenderness. My heart stopped a long time ago, he said. But somehow you make it feel like it is learning to beat again. Her breath hitched. He leaned in, but she burst out. Did you bring me here to use me, or because you want me? His body stilled. His grip loosened. His face changed, shifting from hunger to honesty. Ava, he said quietly, I brought you here because I wanted you before I ever needed you. Her chest tightened. He continued, voice low. Everything after that became complicated. Lightning cracked through her body. Vorian dropped his hand and stepped back, as if ashamed of his confession. You don't have to love me, he whispered. You don't even have to like me. You only need to survive this. When the rebellion ends, you'll be free. Ava stared at him. Then the truth hit her, sharp and sudden. If I become like you, she said slowly, I won't be free. Vorian's eyes sharpened with pain. No, he whispered. You won't. Her heart cracked. But you will be alive, he said quietly. And alive with me means protected. Ava shook her head. Protected is not the same as loved. A silence, so heavy it felt like another presence settled between them. Then, Vorian's voice softened, breaking at the edges. Ava, I am trying, he said, touching his chest with an unsteady hand. But I don't know if I remember how to be loved. The wind hushed. The city lights flickered. Her chest throbbed with something she didn't want to name. Then let me teach you, she whispered. Vorian froze. A vampire king, terrifying, ancient, invincible, looked genuinely scared. Ava, she stepped toward him. You want me? She said softly. I see it. You're fighting it. But you want me. His jaw clenched. I do. Then stop acting like love is a battlefield, she whispered. Let be a choice. She touched his chest, where his dead heartbeat lay silent beneath centuries of restraint. Vorian inhaled sharply. Ava, he breathed. Yes. If I kiss you now, he warned, voice trembling with hunger and devotion intertwined, I won't be able to pretend anymore. She whispered, then don't pretend. Vorian crushed the distance between them, and the kiss that followed tore the world apart. Cold and fire, death and life, hunger and hope. His lips tasted like shadows and promise. His hands gripped her waist as if she were the only thing keeping him sane. He kissed her like a man starved, like a king kneeling to a woman he never expected to feel anything for. When they finally broke apart, Ava's breath came unsteady. Vorian pressed his forehead against hers. This is dangerous, he whispered. Then why does it feel right? She asked. He exhaled a shaky breath. Because, he said, I think I'm falling in love with you. Ava's heart stopped, really stopped, then thundered. And somewhere in the shadows of the penthouse, someone else was listening. Ava didn't realize she had fallen asleep until the sound of shattering glass jolted her upright. The penthouse, always calm, always unervingly quiet, was suddenly filled with chaos. Vorian wasn't beside her. Her heart punched her ribs. Vorian, she called, stumbling off the bed. No answer, only more breaking glass. And voices. Ferocious ones. Ava rushed into the hallway and froze in terror. The front door had been ripped off its hinges. Expensive marble tiles were cracked and splintered. Shadows moved like living serpents across the floor. And in the center of it all, Vorian stood surrounded. 7 vampires in ceremonial black armor, council guards, circled him like wolves. At their front was a tall woman draped in silver, her hair pinned in a perfect chignon, her expression carved from ice. Vorian's mother. You dare resist a royal summon? She spat. Vorian's fangs slid down in a flash of fury. Get out. Vorian. Her voice sliced like a blade. This charade ends tonight. You'll come with us. You will stand before the council, and you will marry the heir. I will not. His mother's eyes flicked to Ava, small, terrified, barefoot in the hallway. You brought that low-born girl into our bloodline affairs. Ava's stomach twisted. Vorian moved like a storm, placing himself between his mother and Ava, shielding her with his body. She is under my protection, he growled. His mother laughed softly. A cold, cruel laugh. Protection? A human? Pathetic. A guard lunged. Vorian seized the vampire by the throat and hurled him across the room so hard he shattered a marble column. But more moved in. Ava backed up as shadows coiled around her ankles like smoke. Vorian's mother raised her hand. Take the girl. Kill her. No, Vorian roared. He flew at them with a speed Ava couldn't even see, only hear like thunder ripping the air. But there were too many. 3 guards pinned him. 2 more held glowing silver restraints. And the last one moved toward Ava with fangs bared. Ava, run, Vorian shouted. But she couldn't. Her legs were frozen. Her breath was shards of glass. The guard reached her in 2 steps and seized her by the throat. Ava gasped. Air strangled from her lungs, tears springing to her eyes as icy fingers crushed her windpipe. Vorian's scream shook the penthouse. Don't touch her! His power exploded. The guards holding him flew back as if blasted by a hurricane. Shadows whipped around him in a violent storm. His eyes glowed blood-red, crackling like embers. A king unbound. Vorian launched at the guard strangling her. But his mother snapped her fingers. All 7 guards struck him at once. Silver cuffs locked around his wrists so fast he didn't have time to dodge. Vorian dropped to his knees with a cry of agony. Silver burned vampire flesh. Ava's breath hitched. Vorian. His mother spoke with quiet triumph. You are powerless now. Vorian strained, snarling, fighting the burning restraints, but even he couldn't break Silver. The guard holding Ava lifted her higher. Let her go. Vorian yelled again. Why? His mother said coolly. She is a liability, a flaw, a weakness. Kings do not love. Something inside Ava snapped at those words. Not fear, not helplessness, defiance. She slammed her knee into the guard's stomach with every ounce of strength she had. He grunted, grip loosening just enough for her to twist free and stumble back. Vorian's mother sighed. Persistent little insect. The guard lunged again, and that was when Ava made the most reckless decision of her life. She ran toward Vorian, straight into danger, straight into war, straight toward the man who terrified her and comforted her all at once. Ava, stop, he shouted, but she didn't. As the guard reached for her, she dropped to her knees beside Vorian and grabbed his burning wrists. Her palms smoked, Silver burned human skin too, but she didn't let go. Ava, I know you'll die. I don't care, she cried, tears streaming. I'm not leaving you. Her heart thundered. Her hands blistered. The guard reached for her, and then something impossible happened. Vorian's eyes widened. Ava, he whispered, voice breaking. Your heartbeat. It was changing. Faster. Heavier. Deeper. Thudding in a rhythm that was not fully human. Her vision blurred, but she held on. Vorian strained against the cuffs, pulling Ava into his arms to shield her. The guard closed in, but then the entire penthouse shook. A wave of power burst from Vorian's body. A shockwave so strong it blasted all the guards back at once. Ava collapsed against him, gasping. Vorian looked down at her with terror and awe tangled together. Ava, your heartbeat, it's matching mine. She blinked weakly. I didn't mean to. His throat tightened. You chose me. Her lips trembled. I didn't choose this. No, he whispered, pulling her closer. You chose me. That's all I ever needed. His mother snarled. Enough of this disgusting display. She lunged forward, but Vorian rose. Still cuffed, still burning, still bleeding, but no longer weak. Ava's heartbeat had strengthened him. Their connection, half human, half vampire, ignited something new inside him. Something ancient, something royal. He lifted his cuffed hands, silver sizzling, and the wind itself bent around him. His mother staggered back. Impossible, your power should be gone. It was Vorian growled, until she gave me hers. The remaining guards charged. Vorian didn't move. The shadows moved for him. Like wolves answering their king's call, darkness surged from the floor, the walls, the shattered columns. Ripping the guards apart in a hurricane of claws and teeth formed from pure night. Everything went silent. Everything except the sound of two heartbeats, one dead, one changing, beating in perfect sync. Vorian lifted Ava's face in his shaking hands. You saved me, he whispered. Ava gave a weak smile. Then we're even. You are becoming part of my world, he murmured. Not through force, not through a deal, but through choice. Her vision swayed. Am I dying? No, he pressed his forehead to hers. You are transforming. Only partially. Enough to survive in my world, but remain yourself. She breathed shakily. Vorian, I was so scared. He cupped her face gently. So was I, he whispered. Until you came to me. Until you touched me. Until your heartbeat, your brave, stubborn heartbeat, chose mine. His mother staggered up, horrified. You would bind yourself to a human. No, Vorian said, lifting Ava into his arms. I would bind myself to the woman I love. The room froze. Ava did too. She swallowed softly. You love me. He held her tighter. With everything I have left, he breathed. His mother screamed. This breaks every law. Vorian's voice dropped into a deadly calm. Then I will make new ones. He lifted his hand. Shadows wrapped around his mother, not hurting her, just binding her. And he said, the throne is mine by blood, but the crown is mine by choice. And I choose her. Ava's heart stuttered. Vorian kissed her forehead, and the world felt right for the first time. Hours later, after the guards had fled and his mother was dragged away by the very council she once commanded, Vorian took Ava to the balcony. The sun was rising, gold spilling over Manhattan like a blessing. He placed his hand over her chest, feeling the new rhythm. "Does it hurt?" he whispered. "No," she said honestly. "It feels powerful." He smiled softly. "You are not my prisoner," he said. "Not my deal, not my rebellion or my excuse." Ava touched his jaw. "Then what am I?" Vorian leaned close, voice tender and certain. "My wife," he said. "My equal. My forever." Her breath trembled. "Vorian." He kissed her, slow, deep, grateful. And when they broke apart, he whispered the vow he had never said to anyone in all his centuries. "Until your heartbeat matches mine." And long after, Ava smiled. It already has. The city glowed around them. The war was over. Love had won. And with the dawn kissing their skin, the vampire king wrapped his cloak around his bride, holding her as if she were the final piece of himself he never knew he was missing. The end. Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed this story, you will surely love the next one. It's as crazier and more intriguing as you can ever imagine. So do check it out. Click on the image showing on your screen right now to watch the next one.